welcome to Edison Open House Global Healthcare 2021. In this session, we're going to focus on the work of Carmat, the French artificial heart maker. With me is its CEO, Stephane Piat. Bienvenue, Stephane.
Hi, good morning.
Stephane, the history of artificial hearts goes back a long way. 1982, I think the first one was implanted. And since then, we've seen all sorts of devices, but you're coming to this with something rather different. Why is your heart so different? And perhaps you can tell us a bit about the history that's led you to this point.
Yeah, I think clearly that's a very long story on this for many reasons. First, you need to get the right idea and the right people, visionary people, resilient people to make it possible. So Carmat started really with a meeting between two very visionary people who are Jean-Luc Lagardère, the founder of EADS Matra, that became afterwards Airbus, and Alain Carpentier, the inventor of the surgical valve. So meeting in the 90s, they spoke about that crazy idea of building an artificial heart. And they agreed to work together, starting slowly allocating some free resources from the EADS group to try to think about a prototype. And then in 2008, they came to an idea that was a very final prototype, and they decided to spin off the project from Matra to become a standalone company. And it's really where the story started. And 12 years after, well, we have the CE mark and we are ready to go on commercial for more patients.
And what makes your artificial heart so different from the ones that have preceded it?
Yeah, that was the interesting point, because when Jean-Luc Lagardère and Alain Carpentier met 30 years ago, there was already an idea in the US. Now it's called Syncardia, and it was called CardioWest in the past. And they saw a real opportunity to develop a device in that space, but they wanted to make it much more similar to what a human heart is, and it's what they did. So they wanted something which was hemocompatible. They wanted something which was autoregulated, like your heart is, so you adapt your blood flow real time to your need. When you exercise, you get more blood. When you rest, you get less blood. So it's what it does. And there is no complication because, well, it works like a human heart. It's physiological support. So that's a huge difference with what we saw before. It's not a standard pump, if you will, which is taking blood to expel it somewhere else. It's really about managing the blood like your human heart is doing.
Many of the previous artificial hearts have required people to be on extensive medications in terms of blood thinners and that kind of thing. Is that the case for this?
Yeah, that's as I said, it's the level of hemocompatibility is very high. Obviously, we still need to push the envelope. In the study, we wanted to be conservative, but still we are far below the others. So we have aspirin and heparin at very low level, and we are pretty convinced, and we did it in some patients, to interrupt both heparin and aspirin for weeks, and we did not observe any clots. So we are very positive that even if our level of anticoagulation is super low for time being, it will be even lower in the future.
Now you're celebrating the award of a CE mark. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, well, we started in 2008, and since then we've been working on manufacturing and designing studies, and CE mark, if you will, is really that phase between clinical research and larger pool of patients treated through a commercial setting. And that's a very important step for us, because first of all is the proof that the concept works. And then it's very exciting for us as well, because we'll be able to treat more patients in the coming months.
Now you're marketing this, or you will be marketing this, as a bridge to transplant, not actually as a substitute for transplant. Why are you taking this approach?
Yeah, I mean, as usual, obviously, when you seeking for approval, you build your approval strategy on studies, and we were able to disclose only short-term data for time being, and we are hopeful that in 2-3 years, coming 3 years, we'll be able to generate long-term data able to support destination therapy approval.
Now you've got your CE mark. What are the next steps? What are your plans over the next year?
Well, the plan for next year is really to start commercializing. So we'll focus on larger countries because obviously we have limited resources. So we'll focus on France and Germany mostly. And on the top of it, as we just discussed, we will work on a strategy to be able to extend indication for destination therapy. So we'll generate a large post-marketing registry. And we will have probably a subgroup of patients going beyond a year, but we collect and to build a dossier to get destination therapy indication.
And where are you going to be manufacturing these hearts, and how many?
So we built a dedicated manufacturing site in 2018, 15 kilometers south of Paris, and so it's brand new. And we will build the hearts in this fabric for the coming 3 to 4 years. And if we are successful, as we hope, according to the plan, well, we should decide within 2 years where to expand and how to expand our manufacturing capacities.
Now, there are other devices available, ventricular assist devices and that kind of thing. What is the competition here?
Well, I think it's not that easy to describe because obviously we had only left ventricular assist device for the last 30 years and barely any device able to support biventricular disease. So doctors have been trying to do the best they could with the products available, and really the most stable and reliable products available were the left ventricular assist device. So some of them have been trying to treat a patient with biventricular insufficiency, associating 2 pumps together. Some of them have been using LVADs in patients which were far too sick, but it was the only way to make them survive, hoping they would have got a heart for transplant. So it's very hard to tell because people have been trying really to find solutions, waiting for dedicated solutions. So how do we play against LVADs today? LVADs are treating almost all spectrum of the disease, and in the future now, we are thinking of treating late stage advanced heart failure, while LVAD should really treat and focus only on the left heart disease.
I mentioned earlier that the incidence of heart failure was rising. What's the size of the market, the potential size of the market that you're addressing here?
Well, obviously these are studies and you need to make hypotheses about cutoffs of things. And well, if you take a look, most of the studies that will tell you between, if you take US and Europe, the need for heart transplant a year is between 130,000 patients and 200,000 patients. So you need to count in hundreds of thousands of patients, unfortunately.
And in your commercialization strategy, will you be partnering with others, or will this be something you...
No, that will be a standalone plan. We don't need others to do it. It's really about training centers, starting centers, helping them to find the right patients for our product. And in the second time will be to build the patient flow with referral work. But we can do that by ourselves.
How much cash runway do you have?
Yeah, as of today, we have a cash runway until end of Q3 of this year. And well, we have as well an equity line that we are not using regularly, but if we would have a 1-year runway.
And what's your plan for funding the company in the longer term?
Well, our plans today, obviously, we want to get to break-even point as soon as we can, but it will take years anyway. So we will probably need to go back to markets and raise more equity in order to fund the company to break even.
Are there any particular milestones that investors should look out for over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, indeed. This year will be very rich in events, which is great news. The coming one is the first patient in the US. It's something we've been working on for years now, and US is the most important single market in the world, and we are all excited to treat a patient in the US. So probably within the end of this quarter, the month of March, we should be able to treat the first US-based patient with Carmat. And then we have many other ones. So the first commercial sales in Q2 of this year, and the start of the large French study called Efficace, second part of the quarter as well, second quarter as well. So many things coming our way between commercial and studies.
Will this be affected by COVID in any way, particularly in the US?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, we don't know what we don't know, but what I can tell you today, we've been able to train centers, 3 centers in the US, from Dallas to the East Coast in November in full COVID. So we've been preparing for it. Carmat employees have the chance to get NIE, which is a national interest exemption, which allow us to fly to the US under COVID. So we don't expect big issues. Obviously, it depends as well on the capacity of the hospital, but so far so good. The 3 hospitals we train have patients in backlog, and they are willing to treat them as soon as they can.
2020 has been an extraordinarily difficult year for many people, both personally, nationally, globally. How are you looking forward, though, to 2021, which in the case of Carmat has started with a bang and some very good news?
Yeah. So what 2020 has been difficult for everybody, as you said. But at Carmat, we decided to take advantage of this very weird situation to work faster and better, which we managed to do. And we achieved all our objectives, or mostly all our objectives, of which the most important one, the CE mark, which was remarkable achievement. And it's the same for 2021. We celebrated the CE mark last week with our teams. And I told them, well, 2021 will be about the same as 2020. So we need to be the same or even better. So we are all prepared to over-deliver. We're all excited, as you can imagine. And we will work like crazy to make sure that we do what we said.
Stephane, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.